everybody, and welcome to Elevate the Conversation podcast. My name is Gina Donahue, and I am your host. And I have with me today from Neem Naturale, Dr. Sherley and Dr. Stephen Samuels. And I would love to have them jump in and let us know how they created their Neem Natural skincare products.
Hi there.
Hello, everyone.
You want to start? Okay. Hi, I am Dr. Shirley Samuels. I am a board certified OBGYN and I'm co-owner of Neem Naturale.
My name is Dr. Stephen Samuels. I am a HBCU trained plant scientist and founder of Neem Naturale.
And like you said, Gina, we have a all natural skincare line rooted in science. Everything is handcrafted by my husband here with neem. Hence our name, Neem Naturale. And for those who do not know what neem is, it is a medicinal plant that's native to Africa and the Indian subcontinent. And it has amazing scientifically proven benefits for the skin and hair. So we just harness all of those wonderful benefits and we've created a product line for you.
So during my PhD studies, I was part of a program that was responsible for training undergrad students in different agricultural practices. One of those practices was extracting bioactive compounds to be used as organic pesticides in the greenhouse. So doing that work, we had about 7 different plants, neem being one, that the goal was to find different compounds, different organic compounds that we could use to extract these phytochemicals out of the plant, and then spray them on edible crops and see how they performed against bug infestation, fungal infestation, and things like that. So at the end of the study, we found that of 3 of our organic compounds, they were by far, they showed the best results using neem. So we extracted with hexane, methane, and I forget the other one at this point. But all the phytochemicals that we pulled out on neem worked on all of the vegetables we were using. So we were trying to fight nematode infection on okra plants, white flies on lettuce and tomatoes, just typical greenhouse pests that anyone who's growing these plants would encounter. And so we had the kids extract the compounds, spray them on, and just quantify how they look. And so during the literature review, because my thesis project was on sweet potatoes, so I wasn't directly working on neem. So in reading literature to learn about neem, to be able to talk to the students about it, I read about all these different skincare properties that it had. And, I talked to the students about that. And then fast forward 5 years later, I have a daughter now who has these same skincare issues. And so my wife and I were talking about, what should we do? Should we take her to the doctor and get regular treatment, which was an option. But considering she was so young, we didn't want to go the steroid route. So I told Shirley, during this time at Tuskegee, I studied this plant called neem, and it had all these wonderful different skincare properties, and most of them were topical. So I started reading about the plant again. I bought a few seeds, started growing the plant, and I got a few leaves. I made a paste, and we put the paste on her arm, but the paste had a really, really bad scent to it. She really didn't like it. My daughter didn't like it either. So after some discussion, I decided, I'll try to make a soap. So I talked to some people I knew about soap making who had made soap in the past. Got a few lessons on making soap, took a few soap making classes, did some reading, came in the kitchen, played around with different recipes. I made a couple of different recipes. 1 bar of soap was too hard. The other, I don't think had enough neem in it. So played around a couple times, and finally we got a decent bar of soap that we used and got results within about 2 weeks. And continued making the soap. We had people who knew, like family members that knew about her eczema, started asking, like, what are y'all using? And so we started telling people I'm using this homemade soap, started giving the soap away. Everyone was using it, started getting more and more requests. And then she was like, I think we should probably start selling this, because we started getting requests from people we didn't know who just heard that I had the soap.
And one of the most important ones was a friend of ours was purchasing. She was asking us for 12 bars at a time. Can we get 12 bars? Can I get 12 bars from you? And we found out that she was selling it at vending events, and she would sell out. And so we were like, oh, well, if she can sell it, then we can sell it. Yeah. That's kind of how the business was birthed.
So what are the skin conditions that Neem helps treat?
Sure. So just about anything that has an inflammatory component, Neem will help because of its anti-inflammatory properties. Anything that can be caused by or triggered by different bacterias and fungi as well. So it works really well for eczema, psoriasis, great for acne, and because it stimulates collagen production. It helps with other disorders as well, such as dry skin, alopecia. It's really a wide variety of different things that Neem can actually help with. And again, these are scientifically proven, and so you can expect reproducible results.
So what it does is,
Yeah, go ahead.
there are different phyto compounds that are part of the nematoid family. And what they do are they stimulate the production of a free enzyme for collagen, as well as a protein called elastin. Both of those help the skin maintain its flexibility and its moisture.
So you said you were studying Neem as an organic pesticide and it was effective. And so is it those same properties that cause it to be antimicrobial or anti-infective on plants? Is that what's also working actively on the skin?
Yes. So to my knowledge, there are roughly 400 bioactive compounds affected with.
Hold on, I think your internet got a little unstable. So can you go back and talk about, I heard you say that there's 400 active compounds and scientists haven't proven which one of those is active. And then you said something else. Shoot, you're coming in and out. I don't know what's going on with the sound.
Maybe I should get closer. Let me get
Okay. So I think what I might have understood you say is that the scientists can't separate out which ones are good for like being an organic pesticide versus what's good for being in skincare. Is that what you were saying? Okay, but because it's all the same compounds.
All the same.
Okay. So are there any skin types that would be contraindicated or where Neem would not be appropriate?
Not that we've seen, no. A lot of times, because we have created soaps, we've created moisturizers, and we create kind of a thicker moisturizer. Sometimes people with oilier skin will ask, well, is this a good product for me because I'm already oily? And the answer is yes. Oily skin does not mean that you do not need a moisturizer, rich moisturizer, or would you would not see the benefits of the compounds in Neem. So the short answer to your question, no, there aren't any skin types that, you should not use Neem on. Certainly if you have an allergy to Neem, which is very rare, of course, you would want to avoid it. But as far as I know, that's very rare. And since we've been in business, we haven't come across anyone who's had an actual allergy to the plant.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit about your products and then also like which products would be best for which application or use. So I know when I saw you at the farmer's market, you had talked about one for hair growth. You have a beard kit, but then you mentioned that Neem is good for alopecia. So talk about that. So for how would that be used for people and which product is that?
The way it works, so when we go through that long list of scientifically proven benefits that Neem has for skin and hair, one of those benefits that stimulates and promotes the growth and function of the hair, likely due to, again, the collagen producing properties, the elastin producing properties. So by stimulating and fortifying the hair follicle, you get hair growth. Something important to talk about as far as alopecia is that it really depends on the type of alopecia that you're treating. So if you have I can never say that word, citrusicule alopecia, which is essentially caused by scarring of the hair follicles and then ultimate destruction of the hair follicle, then neither Neem or any other product is going to be able to stimulate growth from that follicle once it's destroyed. You have to have a functioning or a present follicle that hair can then grow from. So that's something to keep in mind, because there are certain, inflammatory autoimmune disorders where your body kind of attacks your hair follicle and destroys the hair follicle. Well, then you can't really regrow that hair. You're looking at hair transplant and things like that once the follicle is gone. But if you have a follicle present and you, let's say, have traction alopecia due to tight styles, due to tight braids or hair manipulation, this is where applying something that just strengthens that follicle and allows that hair to grow back would be beneficial.
Yeah, so I do a scalp treatment where I do micro channeling with growth factors into the scalp. I have in the past done PRP injections into the scalp, and I've seen that work a little bit. But I also know that, truthfully, the action of just injecting that needle, the way that you inject it into the scalp, you can actually traumatize the hair follicles. And so
cause damage just doing that.
Yeah, and it's painful and it causes a lot of bleeding. So I don't do PRP injections anymore, and I've seen skin pen used on the scalp. But what I do now is micro channeling, which is just straight up and down. It's almost like it's kind of similar to the way a tattoo gun would use. It's just straight up and down, creating channels into the scalp with a little head that's got these microfilaments on it. So instead of needles, they're filaments. So it's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And then you take advantage of that and you can rub stem cell derived growth factors that are specific to the scalp. And I've seen that actually work pretty well, but I know that one of the requirements is that you have relatively recent hair loss or hair thinning in an area, because if you have had hair loss for any prolonged length of time, the follicles are dead and gone. You're not gonna create a new follicle. What you were needing to stimulate is just not working anymore. What about androgenic alopecia? So something that's more related to high amounts of DHT or dihydrotestosterone. Have you any idea how Neem would work with that?
And that's going to be more along the lines of male pattern and kind of familial hair loss. And while we have several people applying their Neem on their scalp, and have had what they deem success in slowing down of their thinning, that is a familial genetic situation that is likely going to occur. Like if your dad and your granddad and his granddad went through it, then you're probably going to around the same age that they did as well. And so we're really looking more so at damaged hair with active follicles, or even damaged follicles. As long as the follicles are still present, that's really where you're going to get that benefit.
Yeah, like chemical burns, I would imagine, people who've had overtreated hair, overtreated scalp. Yeah,
exactly. Either chemical or physical manipulation, stress induced.
Yeah.
Even that we've seen, wonders with applying the scalp oil to the scalp.
Okay. So we have a beard oil, a scalp oil, and then you mentioned a soap. So your husband had started talking about making a paste that was smelly and then went into the whole soap, and then the soap worked. So have you come up with then a cream that's successful and doesn't stink?
Yes, we have. So have we come up with a cream as well? So yes. We've actually come up with an entire line of products.
Okay.
So Neem, again, like Stephen was saying, it's not something you want to apply to your body raw. It smells terrible. It has a very pungent, nutty smell. think of peanut butter times 1,000. Very, very strong, pungent odor to it. And so when we started making the soap and came up with something that did not have that odor, almost immediately our client base started asking for a moisturizer to go with it. We want something to go with the soap now, because we have a soap, we need something else. And so we started making a body balm, which is not as heavy as a butter would tend to be, but not as light as a lotion. So it is a rich moisturizer, works well for both dry and oily skin types. So we've come up with that, and then our line has just continued to grow since then. But one of the key things is we have to make sure that it doesn't have that smell, because people do not want to smell like neem and go to bed. And so all of our products, in using carrier oils and essential oils, some fragrance oils in some of our products, we are able to mask that odor just enough that you don't smell like you took a bath in fragrance or anything like that, but it masks it just enough that you don't smell it, but you still get all the benefits of the neem.
And so can you talk a little bit about what the anti-inflammatory properties are? How is neem anti-inflammatory?
So those phytohormones that I mentioned to you earlier, they penetrate the skin and the mechanism behind what they do is actually still unknown. But what we do know is they interact with your body's natural immune system to reduce that response. We just don't know how, because an inflammatory response is produced by the body, and we know that neem suppresses that. We're just not quite sure how.
Okay. Do you know how long neem has been used in skincare?
It's called Ayurvedic medicine, which is
Ayurvedic?
Yeah, that's it. So that's thousands of years
Centuries.
old. Yeah, thousands of years old.
Okay, so it was a natural substance
We
that was
actually
used.
get a lot of people who come to vending events like the one we were at where we met you. And when we meet people who are from Africa and from the Indian subcontinent, because we typically have our leaves on our table as a part of our display, they immediately walk up and say, I know this plant. I pluck it from the tree and rub it on my chicken pox when I was a kid, or rub it on my skin for my eczema. Like, that is how commonly it is used in Africa and the Indian subcontinent. And it's been that way for centuries.
That is so interesting. Well, I mean, all medicine comes from plants, really, right? Like, that's where nature is what heals us, makes us sick and makes us better.
and I mean, that's where everything originated from, right? It's the blueprint. And then we go into the lab and make the synthetic version so that we can have, infinite amounts of it. But that's the blueprint.
So when I see people, I have a lot of people come in to see me with autoimmune diseases and gut issues and a lot of skin issues. So, I'll see a lot of chronic itching, urticaria with an unknown cause. I have a lot of people come in who want me to do some kind of food sensitivity or food allergy testing, because that a true IgE mediated allergy response is your classic allergy, but people can have food sensitivities or even inflammatory responses to food that can take up to 72 hours to present. And I have had people come back being allergic to black pepper. I mean, seriously, who would think, right? Green tea, black pepper, cinnamon, and these can be some really significant culprits that even will trigger an inflammatory response through the complement system. So it's not even an IgE-mediated response, it's a complement-mediated response. So I have been using Infinite Lab food sensitivity testing. It's not the most robust, it's only 88 commonly eaten foods, but it tests IgE, IgG, IG4, complement B, and complement D on everything. So everything gets looked at with 5 potential reactions. Nice. So how I explain the immune system to people is I always let people know the immune system is kind of you know, it's got multiple different ways of reacting. It's got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. And so when you're looking at just an Army response, you can miss, it could be literally there was nobody from the Army that was present, but every other armed forces was reacting. You know,
Right, right.
when it comes to trying to figure out how people are responding and interacting internally with their environment, it can really be tricky to get to the bottom of it. But I see a lot of people with psoriasis, eczema, and hives, hair loss, and skin texture changes. Obviously, I also do a lot of hormone balancing. So I'll see a lot of androgenic symptoms, and that means things that happen with hormonal fluctuations or with testosterone converting into dihydrotestosterone at the tissue level. And so I am always actively searching for ways to help my patients, both from the inside to try and figure out the triggers, but then we also have to clean up the aftermath. So, you know, a lot of times we'll find, oh, well, this person is allergic to XYZ foods, or they have this kind of infection going on in their gut, and we'll put together a plan and we'll treat those things, but we still have the scars and the skin that was put out of whack, and you can stop the trigger, but the inflammation kind of takes on a life of its own. And so that's where kind of doing something hand in hand, topical that's safe and internal. That's what I love about meeting you guys. And I'm so excited to be able to learn more about your products and then have them available to my patients.
Absolutely, absolutely. And everything you said was absolutely. Food is just one of the many triggers, right? I mean, there are things in the air, you know, right now there's this whole air quality catastrophe going on in the Northeast. And, you know, we kind of will probably be seeing the aftermath of that, because undoubtedly some people are going to have the armed forces are going to react to some of those things that they're experiencing, and then eventually the aftermath of that will come. So yeah, I mean, we absolutely love the fact that you're trying to help your patients from, like you said, internal and external, because one without the other, you're kind of doing half the job.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And so this is maybe, I don't know if this is appropriate for this conversation, but it's about skin just in general. I can remember when I was 14 years old, we were visiting my grandparents in Florida, and, you know, I was 14, there's nothing to do. So I was just sitting down reading a woman's magazine, not something I would typically have picked up at the age of 14. And I can remember seeing this article, and it was about a woman who was in her 80s. And the interviewer was just talking to her about how amazing she looked, and she could have passed for being in her 30s or 40s, and she was in her 80s. And they asked her, what is your secret? Like, what are you doing? How is it possible that you can look this young and you don't look like you've aged and your skin looks so amazing? And she just talked about prevention. I mean, I was 14. That was about almost 30 years, 29 years ago. So I don't remember the rest of the article, but it made a really big impression on me at that age that, wow, like if I want to look good when I'm that age, I need to start now. And so I started, that was back when Oprah was really big, and I would watch the Oprah show, and they were talking about alpha hydroxy acid, and I was doing all that stuff from the time that I was really young. And so as a healthcare provider, I never really wanted to go into aesthetics or go into plastic surgery or anything like that. I just was always passionate about just skincare. And it is, you know, I don't think it's vanity. You're covered in your skin. It's the one part of your body that you really can't hide is your skin. And it's
not vanity at all.
No.
It's literally the largest organ and absorbs almost everything. So, and exposed to everything, and is your first line of defense against everything. So absolutely, skincare is so, so, so important. And you'd be surprised how many people, myself included, you know, didn't really understand the importance of it until I was in my 30s. You just kind of think it's always gonna look like this. It's always gonna look like this. And then one day it just doesn't. And you're like, wow, maybe if I was doing X, Y, and Z, putting on sunscreen, drinking water. So we are really, really passionate about educating people. You need to start now. And if you start now, you're in a better place now than you will be next year. I don't care if you've never done anything to care for your skin up until this point. A lot of times we're talking to our men, our male clients that say, I don't do all that. That's for women. Well, you're covered in skin too. Skincare is not for women. You are covered in it from head to toe as well. So that is an awesome point. And to hear that you started at 14, that's pretty awesome, because I was about 14 years behind you in starting.
I was bored, but it did just trigger something in me. I think that really kind of started me on my wellness journey, to be honest. That's when I started doing aerobics, and I started really getting into fitness, just reading that one article. And I don't know, People magazine or it's a Good House Peak. I don't know, but it really had an impression on me at that age. For some reason, it resonated. But you mentioned a couple things that I really want to circle back to, because I think it's really important to talk about this and for people to hear it. So number one, you mentioned how our skin is our largest organ, and it's also a first line of defense. And I want to be really, really, I really want to impress this on people, that the FDA hasn't updated its standards for skincare products since, I think, the 50s, since it was first written. And so there are so many compounds that are in personal care products now that weren't even around when the guidelines for safety for skincare products were even written. And we absorb 100%. It's not 80%, 50%, 20%, 100% of what goes on the skin goes into your body. Yeah. And if you can't understand what's on the label of a skincare product or a soap or deodorant, you shouldn't be putting it in your body. So I'm really passionate about avoiding environmental toxins. There's only so much you can do about the air that you breathe. There's some, but only so much. But there's everything you can do about what you put on your skin. So can you talk about how you're formulating your products and how, how that would be safer than other skincare products?
So going into the formulation, all of my products start by just research about what are the compounds I want to use, the natural oils, the ratios of those oils, and then the ratios of the neem oil and the essential oils, because in high amounts those can burn the skin. So there's a lot of research that goes into it, reading research, and then I start making products, and we have a group of testers among ourselves that use the products and give me feedback. Excuse me, we got one coming in here.
Our toddler
is coming in.
Yeah, it's bedtime, so he's getting he wants to be around us. So.
That's okay. You can sit on your lap and join the conversation.
So yes, so definitely. So first off, we use products, or I should say, the ingredients in our products are all. Am I in there with the? Yeah, okay. So thought this one out of my
all
mind.
of our products are organic. They're all natural.
Yes. Okay. So we have had people ask us recently when we were vending, actually at the Swanee Arts Festival, someone asked, well, are your products FDA approved? Which I was kind of impressed, because when we first started our business, we were not getting questions like that. Now we're getting questions like, are you FDA approved? Are you using hot process versus cold process? What preservatives are you using in water-based in your water-based products? And I think that we're really shifting away from, as long as it's natural, I'm gonna use it. And I want it to be natural, but I also want to make sure that it's a quality product. You're qualified to be making these products. What are your qualifications? And we're kind of seeing that more now. To answer that gentleman's question, our products we did not go through specific FDA testing, but everything that we put into our products are FDA approved to use. And so we make sure that that we're using the cleanest ingredients that we possibly can. When it comes to using things like a fragrance oil for a scent or like a preservative in a water-based product, sometimes you really can't avoid that because you don't want to have a water-based product that then becomes a petri dish, because that's what's going to happen. You need to use a preservative, but it's important to use the least amount to achieve the goal that you desire. The product doesn't necessarily need to have enough preservatives to sit on the shelves for the next 5 years. That is what we get with a lot of products that are, mass produced. And so that you do not get with our products. You get enough preservatives such that you can safely keep the product in your home for several months and use it over the course of several months and it not become a petri dish, but not so much preservative that you're now causing skin irritation, that you're now causing allergic reactions and sensitivities and things of that nature. So we are definitely proud of the brand that we've created and the products that we've created, and we stand behind that. Even the most sensitive of skin, our products are hypoallergenic, and they're going to be soothing to most inflammatory skin conditions.
Okay.
And they feel great.
And they feel great.
Yeah.
Feel great.
Okay. So I am really looking forward to being able to offer your product out of Elevate and to be able to boost your brand and give you as much recognition as I can. I'm really passionate about supporting small businesses and about supporting people that are like-minded, that we're really about the health of the people who we're encountering. So elevating the community one person at a time, with high quality products that are researched and evidence-based and really from natural products, or from natural sources. That's kind of what most of the people who are interested in functional medicine, that's what they're looking for. And I hope everybody is looking for that. So I really appreciate your time, and thank your little one for letting you delay his bedtime just a little bit. And so when we will have people go to links, we'll put links in the YouTube description below so that people can find your website and look at your products. And then people can follow you at Neem Naturale.
Yep, we're on Neem Naturale on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Neem Naturale. So pretty simple.
Okay. And then I want people to kind of stay tuned. I didn't talk about, I do micro channeling for the skin, and we do to try and boost aging or improve collagen and
anti-aging effects.
Yeah, and lifting and acne scarring. So it'll be a lot of fun to put together some packages for people so they can do some combination treatments. And then if people are ever more really wanting to get to the bottom, we didn't talk about some of the other things that I do for eczema and psoriasis. So sort of those hyperimmune responses, things like curcumin or turmeric, low dose naltrexone, and just doing a little bit of a deep dive into environmental toxin. So there's a lot of testing that we can do to test for things like phthalates and BPA and heavy metals. And so we can always, again, really try to get to the source of whatever has triggered an immune response while we're cleaning up the skin in the process. So it'll be fun to work together on people going forward. So, okay, well, thank you everybody for hanging in with us during this Elevate the Conversation podcast, and look for the links below.